Oh, you're going to like this. Go ahead, Theory.
And yet I always seem to second guess, cause of my skin tone, they saying that I'm just a guest. Plus I was 30, so they started coming at my neck. So many shots been fired, I've been feeling like I need a vest. I'ma show them what I got, and all the ones who said I'd fail, I'll admit my shit is hot. And all the ones who came before me, I'ma see them at the top. Cause I ain't never gonna stop, now I ain't never gonna stop until I drop.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Speak Up, Show Up, Lead. And I have to acknowledge Theory, Ryan Dorfeld. Theory, he let me use part of his song. He's got his own channel, but it's TH30RY. And actually, that's just a small clip. His music is absolutely great. Support him. He's also a Marine Corps veteran, and he's out there trying to make his big name out there in the rap and hip hop world. So please support him. Also, let's get the last promotion out of the way, and that's my book, Speak Up, Show Up, Lead. My story of great growth and leadership from the ground up. I share the lessons learned throughout my life, starting off in poverty, then in the military, going through a little bit of combat, and then talking about that rough transition that we all have, and how I rose above that, started a business, and then it kind of leaves off from there. But I highly recommend you read it. I've gotten a lot of good feedback on it, and it's a worthwhile read. Speak Up, Show Up, Lead. It's on Amazon.com. Now we are here with Tony. Tony, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I don't even got to introduce myself. You just introduced me because we grew up parallel, like you're saying. Or join the military, war, out, start a business.
Well, you know, it's interesting that we almost every business owner that I have on here that served, we all have a very similar story. Some people didn't always grow up in poverty, but it's interesting how when you come from not much, and then you join into the military and you learn how to just push past anything that's hard. I mean, you get out, and whether you work for somebody else or you start your own business. I mean, I think the mindset that we have just helps us win no matter what, because I mean, when you get to the steepest part of that hill, you're going to get over that mountain. It's not even an option.
Yep. You kind of have to. It's adapt and overcome, right?
Adapt and overcome. Yeah. Yep. Right. Yep. But I mean, nonetheless, if you wouldn't mind, Tony, can you share a little bit about your background and as much as you'd like about what you're doing, and then we'll just talk back and forth.
Sure. So my name's Tony Riggs. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. Hoorah. So we, I grew up poor, very poor, just struggling through life. Joined the Marine Corps, tried to join at 16. Wouldn't let me. Tried to join at 17. Finally got a waiver. They let me. But I couldn't go until my 18th birthday. So I went in my 18th birthday a few days after. Went through all the stuff, necessary prerequisites. Got my first duty station, which I thought they had just placed me in hell. I mean, it was in Yuma, Arizona. So I'm like, out of Texas to the desert was a shock. It's a dry heat, they say. I'm still here today in Phoenix. So it must have done something to me. Fried a few circuits up top, I guess. And then deployed to the Gulf War. So yeah, that was my introduction into adulthood. Spent from August to April over there with the Harrier Group, VMA 311 out of Yuma. And good times, lots of good MREs and all that good stuff. Interesting stuff. And then got back, ended up getting married. Still married to my beautiful young bride of 33 years. We have 3 children, and started working for some small companies, and applied for one major corporation. And I went in to go do, I guess, the interview with everybody else, and ended up just walking out, putting my pencil down and walking out, because I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. Not to say it's not for everybody. It just wasn't me. I wasn't feeling it. Went to work for a small company. And then in 99, I, had some good business with the small company I was working for. And so I was like, you know what, I think I can do better. So I asked my wife if I should start my own business, and she said no. And I turned around to walk away, and like I got about 3 steps away from her, and she's like, you might as well do it or you're going to regret it. So quit my job, quickly went into debt because I had no knowledge, no experience, no mentors. Quickly went into debt trying to build a business. That business, in fact, still runs today. So 25 years, 26 years later, this one right here, NeedThese, which is a technology company. We service the public schools and education market, education and government market with technology. And so was able to turn that around, make it sustainable. Like I said, it still runs today, which is good. And then along the way, I've started several other businesses. I continue to start businesses today. One of my latest ones, Major Opinion. So yeah, it's just kind of what I've been doing since '99. Just you tell me I can't do a business, and I'm going to try it. I mean, some of them fail, some of them don't. Some of them are in different stages, different sizes. But I think what we learned from the military, at least for me, was if somebody tells you can't do it, then you're going to do it. And I believe I'm a firm believer in taking steps too. Take a step forward. Standing still, everything passes you by.
Yeah.
So,
well, tell us a little bit more about that, because that was the conversation that we had initially, was about Major Opinion. So,
yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, could you share a little bit about that? I mean, I know kind of what you're doing, but the audience may or may not have even ever heard of it.
Yeah, for sure. And you probably wouldn't, because it's kind of new.
Yeah.
But Major Opinion, so kind of backtrack a little bit. So I got out of the Marine Corps, started my life, went about my stuff, and I didn't use the VA. I didn't know that I could file claims for injuries I sustained in the military. I didn't know anything. I just went about life. Until about 3 years ago, I was talking to a Marine, and he said, hey, if you don't sign up for the VA because you're in the Gulf War, if you don't sign up for the VA, I'm going to slash your tires on your car. Well, tires are expensive. So I signed up for the VA, and I've kind of gone through the process. I'm still dealing with them, doing all that stuff. Well, during these last 3 years, I started engaging with a lot more veterans. I've started doing veteran-specific companies, just really growing my network and trying to find out and understand how we could help. I've have about 8 years of a tight-knit group of my boot camp buddies. We have 43 of us in a messenger group. And so we kind of talk about things, and we're kind of blunt with things and give good, solid advice, not a lot of talking around the shrubbery there. And so I like that feeling, and I kind of missed it. And so over the last 3 years, talking to more and more veterans, I found out that a lot of veterans feel like that we're check boxes. You know, it's just a checkbox to say, hey, I'm veteran friendly. Hey, I support veterans. Hey, you know, XXX for veterans. And so I started thinking to myself, well, why is that? And so I started attending some veteran caucus events and some political events for veterans. And I would hear the exact same thing from politicians that were veterans and people who advised politicians that were veterans. And they would say the exact same thing in their meetings, no lie. We don't know what veterans want. And I'm like, that is crazy. That is insane. Well, it turns out the reason is nobody asks us. They just assume for us. Oh, the veterans want this. The veterans want that. So I said, okay, well, we should start a company that does data analytics surveys, and it comes from a veteran. So like, you know, we have that built-in trust between us. We have that ability to communicate directly. We don't have to worry about offending somebody or hurting somebody's feelings or anything like that. We can just talk. Like, hey, what do you want? So I started this company called Major Opinion, and that's exactly what it is. It's a data analytics research survey company. So all we ask is that you go register your email on there, and that allows us to go and survey you quickly, even just simple surveys, so that we can push either policies, politicians, companies, and other entities in the direction that we actually want as veterans. Now, there are lots of organizations that's what they try to do, but I can tell you what I've learned since starting the company is most of these organizations are sampling a minute amount of people. We're talking about 5 or 10 people, and they're pushing their whole direction that way. And I think that we, you know, with 17 million of us in this country, I think we should have a much bigger voice than what we do now. And so that's kind of how it started and where we want to go. And certainly anybody can help us out by going to majoropinion.com, register your email on there. We're not going to spam you. I'm a veteran. I know what that feels like. I'm not going to do that. We're not going to check box us into different things. We're just out to ask hard questions they're really not hard to us. Just ask questions that make sense for us, and then try to get that pushed in front of the people that are making decisions for us.
Okay. So since you started this, do you work with like the DAV and maybe a few of these other bigger organizations to help with advocacy, or is it just a separate entity that we're trying to use to do data analytics?
It is a completely separate entity, but however, we want to work with DAV and American Legion and VFW because they're struggling as well.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, a lot of them don't get membership because a lot of veterans don't want to go sit there and drink and smoke at the bars, right? Yeah. And so does that mean everybody doesn't want to? No. But we should have a good understanding of what veterans want if they're gonna pay the annual membership or the monthly membership or the lifetime membership for one of these organizations. You should understand what they want out of it, whether, maybe a class a week on finances, maybe a job search class, or I don't know, just those are the things that we need to find out, because inherently we go off of history. Yeah. Well, everybody came in and drank afterwards, so we'll just keep doing that until we have to change.
That's not as much of a tradition anymore.
Yeah. How about we just go ahead and make the change now instead of waiting until it dies out and trying to rebuild? We all have technology. We all have a way of communicating now. Let's just do it now.
Yep. And you were talking about before we started the call today. I know I already knew you had it, but you had another company that you were wanting to talk about as well. Can you tell us what that company is and a little bit about it?
Yeah, by far my favorite company, my most favorite company. Again, it stems from me just joining, dealing with the VA 3 years ago. Going in, dealing with it, talking to lots of veterans. There's a phrase that we all know and don't love called not service connected. So, you file a claim, the government's like, that's not service connected, even though it's sitting there in your record books, right? Well, so I'm like, okay, well, I talk to so many veterans that have never filed a claim, never used the VA, don't know about it, just like I did. And I said, well, how do I get the word out that they can do this? Because from my research, it's about 50 to 60% of veterans don't use our benefits. And so I said, well, I have a printing company. We already print shirts and products and swag and all that type of stuff. I said, I'm going to make a brand called Not Service Connected. So I have a website, nscshirts.com, and the shirts all on the back say hashtag Not Service Connected. And on the front are simple drawings of accidents that happen in the military. And they've all got a cute name or a funny name, sarcastic name. And that's it. It's meant to spread awareness about filing your claims, using the VA, and so on. So like I have a Camp Lejeune one on there. Soldiers drinking, a Marine's drinking out of his canteen, and it's called Lejeune Sip. Drinking water for the whole water toxic thing. I got drag descent. You're coming out the back of a C-130 and your rig doesn't clear. So you get yanked around a couple of times. So I got these different issues, and it's meant to be sarcastic and dark humor, but it's a passion project for me. 20% of all sales go to a veteran nonprofit. So if you're a veteran nonprofit, you can go register for free on the website, and then be entered into a rolling cash donation every month.
Okay.
But it's clearly an awareness brand. The shirts are $20. It's a fun way to get a conversation. I call it Chuckle and Check. Since I started making the shirts last year, I wear them around Phoenix Metro. 20 veterans have signed up for their benefits and filed claims from just talking to me about my shirts.
Okay. Really?
Yeah. So we would love people to wear them and get it out there. And
so is there anything for either one of these companies that anybody could, if they wanted to show support to you and your organization, is there a way to do that through these websites?
Absolutely. 100% free. It doesn't cost you a dime to register on majoropinion.com/vets. It should pop up automatically, but if you've been to the website a couple of times, majoropinion.com/vets will take you right to the registration. That's all we need for support on that company. On NSC shirts, you actually can, purchasing obviously would help because then part of that goes to a nonprofit. But you can also use the coupon code AZVeterans, and that will give you 50% off of the shirt, which will make the shirt $10. And it's a flat shipping fee of $5. So,
and what's the code that they could use on NSC shirts?
AZVeterans. It's all one word.
There we go. And there is both of those. You know what? I'm going to put that on. I don't know why it's on top, but I'm going to put that on the bottom. There you go.
Yeah.
But so anybody who's watching this, again, at the bottom of the screen, nscshirts.com, majoropinion.com. You can show support by signing up on majoropinion.com, and you can get those shirts and get a discount on there if you use AZ Veteran.
That's correct.
So I'll leave that up there throughout the for the rest of the podcast. But man, I like how you came up with these, and you said you own multiple businesses, and that's kind of cool. What you kind of mentioned that you had an aha moment, and that's kind of what prompted you to go out and start a business. But what was the mindset behind that? What were you thinking before you actually went out and did that?
Well, the honest truth was I had made a large sale for the small company, like many millions of dollars. And so I knew all the costs and profit and everything else. And I knew what my pay was going to be. And I went to the owner and I said, hey, listen, this is way above everything. Can I get a bonus check? Can I get a small bonus check? And I wasn't even asking for that much, and he said to me, sell more and you will make more. And I was like, okay, bet. I'm going to sell more for sure. Now consequently, 3 years later, he went out of business. I'm still in business. Yeah. I left there, and just because I thought it was insulting to me. And that was really my whole thing. And, we had just bought our first house. We had a son already. We hadn't had our daughter yet. So we, really walking up to her, I wasn't really thinking like, oh, I should do this. I didn't have a lot of forethought to it. I just said to her, like, hey, I should start my own business. And her first reaction instantly was no. And we talk about it occasionally. It comes up. And then I actually asked her about a month ago, I said, why did you say no immediately? And because I had never asked her before. And she said, because I was scared.
Of course.
And
most people are.
Yeah. And I asked her, I said, well, you thought of all that in like a microsecond? And she's like, well, yeah, I mean, how are you going to quit a good paying job and go start a business? And so that actually carries on a lot today. I talk to lots of veterans about starting businesses. A lot of them, and it's not for everybody. Starting business is not for everybody. It's draining. It's exhausting. It's, but there's some good sides to it, right? You don't have somebody telling you what to do. You can make all your own mistakes. You get all your own rewards, those types of things. But she told the truth, and she was honest, and she said, I was scared. And then the time, you get a picture of this, she's at the kitchen sink. I walk up behind her. I say, hey, I want to start my own business. She says, no. I turn immediately, walk away. About 3 steps in, she calculated everything and figured you're going to regret it if you don't do it.
Right. Well, if you don't try, you have absolutely no idea whether or not you're going to succeed.
That's right.
So, I mean, the only regret that comes from that, and it's not usually the failure. If you do have to go back to working for somebody, it's what if I would have done really, really well at that thing.
That's right.
And my goodness, if you, I mean, some people, they could start a business just doing part-time stuff while they're still working for a company.
Absolutely.
But definitely don't give up on your idea. Don't give up on your dream, because that what if it just stays there and you're 97 years old and you're thinking, man, I had to work for somebody until I was 85 and I should have started that one thing. Would you rather have that, or would you rather say, well, at least I tried?
Yeah, at least I tried.
At least I tried. Yeah.
I've had businesses that have failed, and the fear factor is a reality, right? Like, especially you're young and you're going through things and you're trying to get things done in life, and you're trying to hold a family together, and you're trying to get the next promotion and so on. And I talk almost every single day. I talk to veterans about starting businesses. And really, I just kind of give my honest opinion on it. Like I'm not a big fan of going and taking a big loan and starting a business. There's much better ways of doing that, especially in today's day and market, day and age. You can start a business for virtually anything, for virtually nothing. In a lot of states, some states waive, if you're a veteran, they waive the business setup fees, things like that. Some places are a little worse. California, I think $600 for an LLC. annually. So just depending on where you are, but you can. I advise people is like start a business and have your customers pay for it. Have the customer start funding it and find a customer first. So I give a lot of tips on that type of stuff. But yeah, had I just continued to walk away and she not said you're not going to regret it, I don't know what would happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lived a happy, blessed life, having fun. Yeah, I don't know what would happen. I clearly couldn't work for a company because I applied for a Fortune 1000 company, and I the first day of the interviews I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. So right to small companies, and I'd always been with small companies anyways after I got out of the military. But then once he told me I could sell more and I'll make more, I realized that I'm doing all the work. In fact, that's what my wife told me. She's like, well, you were doing all the work, so I trusted you'd be able to do it anyways.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah. And I love that mindset. And knowing that you're doing stuff and you are creating the income on your own, there is so much more gratitude in your life than when you go and just grind for somebody else. You don't get to choose what time you have off, what time you don't have off. You don't get the opportunity to raise your income level, or, if you decide to take time off, and especially if you're a solopreneur, you kind of have to embrace that suck, because you're not going to make anything if you're not doing any work. So
it teaches you to be very, very organized.
Yeah. I always say that the worst part about owning the business is that you're your own boss, but it's also the best part of owning a business. And also the boss is usually a jerk. So
well, like I said earlier, it's not for everybody, but but if you do have an idea and the thing that hurts me the worst when I'm speaking to veterans that want to start a business that don't, is they're not taking any steps forward.
Yeah.
They're not taking the advice. They're not willing to at least try. So I feel like it hurts me personally, because I'm like, you've got this idea, you want to do it, but you're in your own way. And so, like, if you wanted, I would almost rather them just stop thinking about it and just keep your job and keep doing your thing than torture yourself by saying, hey, I'm going to do this, but this, I want to do this, but that. I want to, either like, we have a saying back then, I don't know if it's appropriate, but blank or get off the pot, right?
Yeah. Oh no, you can swear on here. You heard you heard my trailer.
Get off the pot.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I know that you're kind of on a limited timeline today, but I always ask this question to all my guests before we end the show. If for those people who are struggling moving forward, not even necessarily in business, because we just heard what your advice is to those people who never actually take a step forward, but for people who are stuck in life and trying to move forward. You and I, we've had our lows. Mm-hmm. Just think of when you were at your lowest. What advice would you have for that person who's at their lowest?
Well, I do talk about this a lot with a lot of people that are down in the dumps, and there's not a magical answer, but I try to find a positive in every single thing. So let's say I start a business, or I want to start a business, and I go file for the trademark for the name, and the government says, no, I don't. You're not going to take this because somebody else has something similar or something. A lot of people take that personally, and it stops them and it hurts them, and it adds to the compilation of defeating yourself. Me, I say to myself, I learned how to do a trademark. I learned how to do an appeal. I learned about this other company that is doing something similar.
Yeah.
I learned a better way to apply for the trademark. So I'm always looking for positive aspects out of something, as opposed to and I've done it. I've lost against the trademark office on several things. I've won against the trademark office on several things. But all I remember are the positive things. and I think that helps a lot. It helps with your soul. It helps with your heart. It helps with your mind. And constant negativity is just a bad thing.
It spirals.
I would take positivity to the overwhelmed degree than negative to the little degree, any day of the week.
Well, and guess what? Not everything in life is, I guess, like Rocky says, sunshine and rainbows, right? But at the end of the day, there's always something to be learned from every situation, whether it's positive or negative. And so the negative ones, if you can focus on what you can learn moving forward or what to do differently next time, the likelihood that you're going to dwell in the bad shit is much, much less. As a matter of fact, it might almost not exist. So why dwell in the bad?
That's
when
right.
You can go out there and win. Just try again or try something else.
That's right. I often told my kids growing up, and other people I meet too, I say, I've never heard a customer say they don't have money. Never in my life. I've never heard it.
No.
Now, have they said it to me? Maybe, but I've never said it because I've never heard it, because even if they've told me they don't have money, that wasn't what I was going for in the conversation. I wasn't trying to find out if they don't have money.
No.
So it's like a duck in water. It just rolls right off me. I don't hear it. And we're talking about, like, my technology company. We service the government market. Well, what's the number one thing they say all the time? We don't have money. I've never heard it. So you and I both served, and guess what? I would never believe it. Yeah, that's true too.
And I'm not going to say why, but for many, many reasons, I don't believe that for a half a second.
Yeah, but like I said, you can, if you go into a conversation and talk to a customer or something like that, and they're telling you something that you're not looking to hear, why are you hearing it?
Yeah,
it's draining.
It is. It is. And then people will talk themselves out of even asking for a sale because they make up all this negative stuff. Well,
reinforcing what they said.
No. Don't say no for them.
Yep. You're reinforcing what they said. I mean, who goes into a sales conversation saying, do you have money? Nobody.
No.
I mean, you should be selling your value proposition. You should be selling what you're selling.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's just an example. Those are a couple examples of how I don't let negativity affect me, even if there is negativity.
Yeah.
Just stay positive. So if you're stuck on anything, and I think it probably applies to everything. Marriage, I've been blessed that I've been married for 33 years. We've had our ups and downs in life, but we don't sit around and talk about the negatives that have happened in our lives. The debt we were in, and the stress, and worrying about going to the grocery store if we could spend $2 on a debit card or a credit card. We don't sit around and talk about that. We sit around and say things like, hey, remember that we got to go to Europe? How fun that was? Or you remember when we walked down this lake? We walked around this lake one time. We concentrate on the positive things to keep everything positive. Sure, bad things happen, but I think that's the number one thing is, if you are down in the dumps for any reason, there has to have been a positive somewhere.
Yeah.
Find that positive and hang on to that thing.
Yep. Agreed. So. Well, Tony, thank you so much for being on here and just being willing to tell about your success and share what great things you're doing, especially for service members out there. And for the audience, I'm going to say it again. Please don't forget to check out Speak Up, Show Up, Lead on Amazon.com. I've gotten some good feedback. If you buy it, please leave a review. I'd love to hear more of your feedback. But that's pretty much it. Tony, thanks again. And as far as Speak Up, Show Up, Lead is concerned, this concludes the episode. We'll see you all next time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.